One of the key things is to do the optimum number of what's called sets and reps.
But it's also important to make sure you're doing the right amount of workouts.
If you don't need to rest, then you basically haven't worked hard enough.
You're just going to beat your body into the ground.
When you get up into those higher reps, it really starts to hurt. It really starts to burn.
So when it comes to equipment, what we recommend is hello and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead.
And me, Ben Hughes. We're the co-founders of Trinity Transformation and creators of the Fit Over 40 method. And together with our world-class coaching team, we've helped more than 6,000 women over 40 to fit back into their favorite clothes over the past decade. To find out more about what we do, go to www.fit40info.com. So as you're probably already aware, strength training or resistance training is essential if you want to lose weight, if you want to turn up, and if you want to be fit and healthy and feel your best around menopause. A lot of the things which may work for women in their 20s and 30s, things like cardio, things like HIIT training, things like running or gym classes, simply do not work for women around menopause, especially when it comes to losing weight and toning up. Can't tell you how many women that we've worked with who are trying all of those other approaches, doing loads of exercise, only to step on the scales at the end of the week and see zero movement, leaving them feeling stuck, leaving them feeling frustrated, leaving them not knowing where to turn and struggling with their weight, with their confidence, maybe choosing clothes to cover up problem areas rather than wearing all the things that they loved. But for these women, by changing and doing strength training instead, they were able to start seeing fast and sustainable results in the mirror, to look and feel their best. But that all came down to having the right type of strength training approach. So it's crucial that you know what you're doing in terms of what equipment you need, how many sets and reps you should be doing, rest time in between exercises, how many workouts you should be doing per week, what exercises you should be doing. You need to be getting all of these things right. But if you can cover all of the basics, then it's easy to see incredible results from the comfort of your own home with very, very simple equipment.
A lot of people might feel like they don't have the space, so let's cover the space requirements first. So the one great benefit of strength training is you really don't need much space. You're not going to be jumping around. You're not going to be doing burpees or needing to skip or do something like that. You don't need as much space as like a big treadmill. All you really need is enough space for a yoga mat on the floor, or imagine the space that a yoga mat would take up, because you don't necessarily need one. If you've got a carpeted floor already, you don't even need a yoga mat. If you've got a hardwood floor, or you're going to be doing it on tiles, then you might want some sort of yoga mat as a basic bit of cushioning for things like your knees as you get up and down off the ground if you're doing exercises lying on the ground. Another way to imagine this is about the space of you lying down on the floor. So if you lie down on the floor, then if you can do that, then you've got enough space. You probably also want enough space to stretch your arms out to the side and be able to at least mostly stretch your arms out. You don't necessarily need to be able to stretch them right out. There's not many exercises where you have your arms right out to the side, but ideally enough space to stretch your arms out and enough space to lie down. And a lot of our clients do their strength training in their living rooms, although we have clients who do it in their kitchen, in their bedroom, in their garden room, if they have some sort of summer house, or even in the garage. So you can do it from a lot of different places. And a lot of our clients also do strength training when they travel, and they do it even from very small hotel rooms. So that's kind of the space requirement, pretty much just enough space to lie down and put your arms out to the side. If you can do that, you've got plenty of space to strength train effectively from home. In terms of equipment that you need, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because there's a lot of information out there about things like body weight training or using small weights to tone up, which is absolute nonsense. Really, if you want to get good results, you need some weights. You need some relatively heavy weight. And we'll get onto kind of why that is in a minute. But typically, body weight is just too light for lower body movements. So if you're doing like a squatting movement, a deadlifting movement where you're picking something off the floor, your body weight, you move around with your body all the time. So just doing that isn't going to trigger any change. That's exactly the same as it's already used to. You'd have to do a lot of squats to get any sort of progress from doing squats. Maybe lunges is heavy enough at the beginning, but a lot of our clients can't necessarily do lunges because they've got sore knees around menopause. When it comes to upper body movements, often body weight is too heavy. So things like push-ups, whilst most of our clients end up being able to do push-ups later on in their journey, a year in, they might be able to do a number of push-ups. At the start, they often can't do any push-ups, on their toes. So body weight training isn't that effective. You need to be very, very strong and relatively light and lean to get the most from body weight training, to be able to do things like push-ups, even handstand push-ups or decline push-ups, pull-ups as well. All of those things are typically things that our clients aren't able to do to begin with, and therefore they're not going to get a lot out of trying to just use their body weight. It's going to be too light for the lower body, too heavy for the upper body. So when it comes to equipment, what we recommend is just 3 kettlebells. You could get 3 dumbbells as well, but when you get dumbbells, you usually need 2, so it's going to be more expensive. And a kettlebell, if you're watching the video version, I'm showing a kettlebell now. It's a weight which has got kind of a big ball on the bottom and then a handle on the top. And it means it's very versatile. You can press it overhead. You can hold it in front of you and squat and lunge. You can deadlift it off the floor. You can do so many different things. We found this to be the most versatile piece of equipment. They're not that expensive. And you only need 3 typically to begin with. If you're going to use a dumbbell, I'm showing a dumbbell now. They're kind of where you have a handle where your hand goes, and then there's a bigger round weight on each end. It's kind of a classic weight. They're slightly less versatile. They are a bit more comfortable for certain movements, but you tend to need to buy 2 for everything. So it's usually close to twice as expensive as buying kettlebells. So that's why we usually just start with 3 kettlebells. And you're going to need heavier ones for lower body movements because your lower body muscles are bigger and stronger. Things like your legs, things like your glutes, your bum. And then you're going to need some lighter ones for upper body movements. And most people, the weights they pick are way too light to do effective strength training. They're going to do too high repetitions, which you'll get onto, but I don't know. But they're way too light. So for example, if I visit my parents, they go, oh, we do strength training. And I go, what weights are you using then? Show me the weights. And they get like a 1 kilo, this is a 5 kilo dumbbell I'm showing on the video, but they'll get a 1 or 2 kilo dumbbell. It's nowhere near enough to get any sort of results. Your shopping is heavier than that. Your handbag's probably heavier than that. So you're not going to get any change. You need to make your body do things it's not used to get it to change. So what our clients start with is a 4, an 8, and a 12 kilo kettlebell. And you might think that 12 sounds really, really heavy. It's about 2 stone. But for certain movements like deadlifts, which are very, very strong, most people can actually do that without any training. That's just like picking up a heavy suitcase, for example. And it's important to be able to do those kind of things. If you use pounds, if you're in America or in a country that uses pounds, that's equivalent to about 10, 15, and 25 pounds kettlebell weights. And you're going to use the lighter 2, so the 4 and the 8, or the 10 and 15 pounds for your upper body movements, things like shoulder press, things like chest press, things like bicep curls. And then you're going to use the heavier 2 for lower body movements, for things like deadlifts, things like squats. So that's kind of the lowdown on the equipment you need. Literally 3 kettlebells. It's not crazy expensive. You should be able to get all of those for about £50 in the UK. But Ben, how should people actually go about using it? Because it's all well and good buying the equipment, but if you don't use it the right way, you're still not going to get any good results. So how do you recommend people go about using it?
One of the key things is to do the optimum number of what's called sets and reps. So those are kind of abbreviations. They probably come from the sort of bodybuilding world. But reps is short for repetitions, which is basically how many times you repeat a movement. So if you do 10 squats, you've done 10 repetitions of the squat. And then sets is how many blocks of repetitions you've done and you rest in between. So if you were to do 3 sets, for example, of 10 reps, then you would do 10 squats in a row. You might then have a rest in between. Then you do another 10 squats in a row. Then you have a rest. Then you have another 10 squats in a row. And that will be 3 sets of 10 reps. So the optimum for women around menopause, if you're looking to tone up, if you're looking to get stronger, if you're looking to lose weight and tone up, what we found is kind of between 3 to 5 sets is plenty. So if you're doing 1 to 2 sets, that's not going to be enough. And if you're doing more than 5 sets, you probably don't need to go more than that. And then the number of reps you do, the ideal number is between 5 to 15 quality reps on any movement. So 3 to 5 sets of 5 to 15 reps. As long as you fall within that range, it's not really important exactly how many sets you do, exactly how many reps you do. It's good to kind of mix it up to keep things interesting. As long as you're within that range, you should be absolutely fine. So research shows, though, that up to 30 reps can also be effective. But this means 30 quality reps. And we found kind of from experience that if you're going to do 30 quality reps, so using a good amount of weight, it takes a lot of concentration. It takes a lot of time. There was a there was a workout plan that was like sets of 20 reps. I cannot remember what it was even called. Do you remember what that one was called, Rob?
I remember we did one called DCP that was sets of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Then you go back down again, 40, 30, 20, 10. And the 50 took like 2-3 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah. So there are these protocols out there which use kind of higher repetitions, but they're typically kind of quite extreme. So usually they'll use quite a decent weight still, and you'll really, like, when you get up into those higher reps, it really starts to hurt. It really starts to burn. It's very, very difficult. And also in the days after doing one of those really kind of intense workouts with high reps on high weight, you're absolutely in pieces. You can barely walk up the stairs. You can barely lift your arms. And, that's not necessarily realistic for a lot of people's life when you want to work out, you want to get fitter and healthier, but you don't want it to be at the detriment of you actually being able to function on a day-to-day basis. And also, these workouts, which are doing high amounts of reps, are also not kind of menopause specific. So during menopause, estrogen levels decline, and estrogen is anabolic. So it basically helps to maintain and build muscle, meaning before menopause, you can kind of do anything and it'll work. So you could do high reps, you could do low reps, you can do body pump, you can do cardio sessions, you can do literally anything, and it will work. It will give you some results. But from perimenopause onwards, you need to make up for that reduced estrogen in the body. So you need to adapt your approach because your body has changed. So your approach also needs to change. So the way to do this is really to double down on the most effective ways to build and maintain muscle. So rather than doing what you could do before, where you can get away with some stuff that's not actually optimal, but it still works, you need to be doing what is optimal and what is going to be the most effective thing for you. So this is typically doing lower reps with heavier weight. So between about 5 to 10 reps for each exercise that you're doing. So throughout a workout, in total, you want to aim for about 24 working sets. So if you were to break that down and say that for each exercise, you're going to do 4 sets. So you're going to do 4 sets of squats, 4 sets of push-ups, 4 sets of deadlifts. Then that's going to mean that you're going to do 6 exercises over the course of a workout. If you were to do 3 sets of each exercise, then you're going to need to do more exercises. So that'll be 8 exercises throughout the workout. So if you aim, the number you need to keep in your head, aim for about 24 working sets, aim for about 5 to 10 reps, and that'll be absolutely ideal for seeing the best results around menopause. So that's how many sets to use, how many reps to use. But Rob, next thing to work out is, what weights would you recommend that people use?
Yeah, and this is a question we get asked all the time. So I did a seminar last night and people were asking what's the correct weight to use. And it's quite a difficult question because it's going to depend on from person to person. But there's some fairly simple, straightforward rules to follow that will help you with your weight selection. So first things first, if you're doing lower reps, you want to use a heavier weight. You don't want to use the same weight if you're doing 5 reps or 15 reps. A lot of people do this. They're using the 2 kilos or the 5 kilo weight for 5, for 10, for 15, for 20. They're using the same weight. That's not going to get you good results at all. So if you're doing low reps, use heavier weight. If you're doing higher reps, you need to use a lighter weight. So you need to adapt the weight you're selecting to the number of repetitions. And this was something you will learn over time. When you're just starting out, you want to start off lighter regardless, and then build the weight up until you feel like you're closer to the point where you can't do any more. So let me give you a couple of examples. So if you're doing 5 sets of 5 repetitions on squats, we're just using squats as it's a very, straightforward movement, like sitting down on the toilet, standing up again. 5 sets of 5 reps of squats, you might use a 10 or 12 kilos. Maybe when you're starting on being 8, but you can go relatively heavy. But if you had to do 4 sets of 10 reps, there's a lot more repetitions there. It's double the repetitions. So you won't need to quite half the weight, but you will need to go somewhere close to that. So you might use 6 kilos for those 10 squats. And again, you will learn this over time. And there's a couple of useful scales that the fitness industry use to measure whether you are challenging yourself enough to get good results. The first one is known as RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion. And this is on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard does that feel? A 10 out of 10 is you need to lie down for 5 to 10 minutes afterwards. Your heart rate is spiked to maximum heart rate. You can barely breathe. It's absolutely awful. And like what you were talking about, Ben, those like sets of 20 with a heavy weight can often take you to that like 9, 10 out of 10 RPE. The problem with that is that's not something that most people should be doing because it's very high risk. You're very likely to get injured. You'll be exhausted, especially around menopause when recovery isn't so good. You're just going to beat your body into the ground. And a lot of things like gym classes, like body pump, might actually take you to that 10 out of 10, where you can't actually do another good repetition. That's not really where we want to go to. So with the RPE scale, we generally want to be somewhere between a 7 or 8 out of 10. So this means it's pretty hard. We're pretty tired after that set. We need a rest. This is something people get wrong a lot of the time, is they don't work hard enough and then they can just go again. So they could do their 5 sets of squats and then they could do another 5 immediately after. That's like a 2 or 3 out of 10 in rate of perceived exertion. So we want to be going maybe even like a 4, but it's pretty low. We want to be going to the point where we really need that 30 to 45 second rest to get our heart rate back down, for our muscles to stop burning, and then just to be able to go again. So it's this middle ground between it being way too easy and way too hard. I personally find a different scale more useful though, which is called reps in reserve. Reps in reserve means how many repetitions could you possibly do more if you had like a gun pointed to your head, or someone said, your child's life's at risk. You have to do as many repetitions as possible. If we look at reps in reserve, that means how many reps could you have left? So let's say we're doing 5 sets of squats again with a 10 kilo kettlebell. And you do 5, and those legs are getting tired, they're shaking, they're burning on the last couple of repetitions especially. It feels tough, but you could have done 2 to 3 more if push came to shove, if you were really challenged. And you can always test this. The one thing I quite like to do is on my last set of a movement. So let's say I had 5 sets of squats. The first 4 sets, I just do 5 because it still feels pretty challenging. I think I've got 2 or 3 reps in reserve, but I'll test it every now and again. I'll go, okay, the last one, I'm going to actually see how many I can now do before I can't really do them with good technique anymore. And sometimes I'll surprise myself and go, I've just done another 5. I've done double the repetitions I was doing for that whole set. Clearly, I had 5 reps in reserve, which is probably a bit too easy. So next time I do that workout, I'll start a bit heavier. And we use workout trackers with all our clients. So they can write down what they've done and they could say next time go a bit heavier. I do the exact same for me. I always recommend people do that. You don't have to. Lots of clients don't. But if you really want to get the best results, you can do that. So reps in reserve is a really useful thing to kind of gauge if you're using enough weight or not. Because if you're not using enough weight, you're not going to get any results. But you also need to rest enough between those sets to then keep pushing every single set. If you don't have enough rest and if you can't push your body close to its limits, it won't change. Your body only changes if it has to. Our body likes what's called homeostasis, which is to stay the same. If you want your body to change, to look better, to feel better, to be more toned, to lift your bum, to get rid of your bingo wings, you need to be pushing close to those limits. You need to be pushing close to the 2 reps in reserve, the 7 or 8 out of 10. But you need that rest in between to be able to do that for every set. You can't just do one set and then not challenge yourself again the next set. So how much rest would you usually recommend people aim for, Ben, to get the best result?
As you said, Rob, firstly, the key thing is if people are working hard enough, so if you're lifting enough weight, doing enough repetitions with that weight to get to that high level of RPE, then you actually will need the rest. And one of the problems that we see people run into is they tell us like, do I need to really do the rest? Do I have to rest for 30 seconds in between? Do I have to rest for 45 seconds? Or like they just, a client might come to us and say, well, I've actually just been skipping all the rest and just going from one set to another. And thinking that, maybe that's better because they're not resting. So the first thing is you've got to get rid of the preconception that somehow resting is a negative thing. If you don't need to rest, then you basically haven't worked hard enough. But in terms of how much rest to take, it really depends on the movement, the reps and the sets. So for smaller muscle groups, so doing isolation exercises or lighter weights. So for example, if you're working a lot of the upper body movements, so things like bicep curls, triceps, the muscles in the shoulders and the chest, they're smaller muscle groups, meaning they'll recover more quickly than a larger muscle group. So if you're doing upper body stuff, kind of 30 to 45 seconds should be plenty in order to allow your muscles to recover. And to know whether you've rested enough, basically, if you do your first set of exercise, and let's say you do, 8 reps, after you've rested, you should be able to do 8 reps again, and then 8 reps again, and then 8 reps again for every set consistently. If you're not resting enough, you'll find that you do 8 reps, then you can only do 7, then you can only do 6, then you can only do like 4 on the final set. So, and if you think about if there's 2 people and they do those workouts, and one person does this kind of decreasing amount of reps on each set, then you've basically missed out on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 7 reps overall. You've done less than what was said. If you do 4 sets of 8, then the person who has rested and done the full reps on every single set will do more reps overall. The more reps you've done, the more work you've done. The more work you've done, the more it's going to stimulate your muscles, the more it's going to burn calories, and the better results that you're going to see. So it's important to rest to allow you to continue to perform at kind of a high level. But then for lower body exercises, so if you're training kind of the legs, you're doing things like squats, deadlifts, those kind of lower body compound exercises that use the full body and train those big muscle groups in the lower body, then you may need a longer rest period. So kind of 45 to 90 seconds should be a better rest time for those exercises. You can also use longer rest periods. So you'll often find people who are like strength athletes, like power lifters and things like that, their goal is literally just to become as strong as possible, will have very long rests in between sets. Maybe it'll be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes in between each set after doing very heavy weight, so that they can keep lifting that very heavy weight over and over again. And, if your goal was to get as strong as possible, then maybe you'd follow a protocol like that. But if you just want to lose weight and tone up and see the best possible results as a woman around menopause, you really just want to go with the shortest rest you can get away with that still allows you to perform all of the exercises and not see that performance decreasing over time. So upper body exercises about 30 to 45 seconds. Oh, just hit the microphone there. Upper body exercises about 30 to 45 seconds, and lower body exercises about 45 to 90 seconds. And that is ideal.
So the last thing I want to cover is how many workouts to actually do per week. So we've looked at kind of like the micro level detail within every workout. We've discussed how to get the most out of all of those. But it's also important to make sure you're doing the right amount of workouts, because some people do way too many and actually the quality drops off, the body can't recover. And some people do way too few. And if you don't do enough, your body isn't going to change either. What we tend to find is optimal is somewhere between 3 and 4 workouts a week. For most of the clients who come to work with us who haven't got 10, 20 years consistent strength training experience, 3 workouts enough 3 workouts is enough. It's plenty to begin with. Why is this? Well, the key thing is the body doesn't change during workouts. I think people often think, oh, I'm burning fat in the workout, I'm building muscle in the workout. That's not how it works. The body actually changes after the workout. The workout just creates a stimulus for your body to change. It's basically a signal telling your body, I'm not quite strong enough to do this, or I'm going to have to do more of this hard stuff, so I need to come back stronger because I was only just able to do that. If you can imagine, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but that's effectively what's happening. So your body changes 24/7 in the days after a workout. And it takes anywhere between 1 whole day and 3 days, typically, for your body to fully recover. If you do a really difficult workout, which is going to be really long and really, really hard and really, really heavy, and you're more of an advanced athlete, it might take a little bit longer. It might take 4 or 5 days to fully recover. But for most people, somewhere between 1 and 3 days. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure we're giving our body enough time to recover. So ideally, we'd do 3 workouts with a rest day in between. So we'd do like Monday, rest Tuesday, workout Wednesday, rest Thursday, workout Friday, rest Saturday and Sunday. Now, you can move those days a little bit around, but the point is we want some good rest days in between, ideally. With 3 workouts a week, you can really space that out nicely. With 4 workouts, you can also do quite a nice thing called a push-pull workout split, where you work push muscles one day, pull muscles the next day, and then you rest. And when you're working the pull muscles, the push muscles are mostly resting. When you're working doing the push workout, the pull muscles are mostly resting. So you're basically getting rest even on workout days by splitting the workout into different muscle groups. So that's another thing you can do, but you still want to kind of hit those muscle groups at least 2 times a week, if not 3 times a week. So when you're doing 3 workouts a week, you will do full body workouts. You'll work the whole body. When you're doing 4 workouts a week, typically a push-pull split is most effective, where you work the push muscles one day and the pull muscles the other day, then take a rest day and then do the same thing again. And the most important thing here with number of workouts a week is it's about quality, not quantity. We've had loads of clients come to us who are doing 6 workouts a week, 2 gym classes a day, and their waist is expanding, their weight is going up, they're looking worse, they're feeling older, they're feeling exhausted, and their body is actually declining. And when they come and work with us, we really focus on quality, not quantity, doing all the things we talked about today, working with the changing body and hormones around menopause, and they're able to get phenomenal results.
Awesome. And, we've covered kind of the basics of how to go about doing strength training, how to structure your workouts, how many sets and reps you should do, what weight you should use, how to rest in between sets, how to structure it over the course of the week. It can get a lot more complicated than that. But, around menopause, if you're just looking to lose weight and tone up, you just need to do the basics and do those basics well. But even so, it can be quite difficult to actually program and plan an entire workout schedule to figure out what exercises you need to do on what days, how many reps and sets you should be doing of each of those exercises. Are you doing the right amount of exercises? Are you doing too much? Are you doing too little? Are the rest times okay? That's one of the reasons that all of our clients have their own private one-to-one coach who basically sets up the entire workout program for them, just gives that to them. And then because it's been designed to work for them, they just do it each week and then see amazing results. And one good example of this is one of our clients, Helen. So Helen is a doctor who's age 57 and has 2 teenage girls. So she said, before I started Trinity, I was pretty fed up with the way I felt in relation to my body. My weight had gradually crept up to nearly 80 kilograms. I was thickening around my middle and buying bigger sizes in clothing, 14 to 16. Even my family had commented on my weight gain. I felt I was relatively fit, an active member of 2 gyms doing regular classes like body attack, body pump, hit step, balance, yoga, Pilates, going at 6:45 a.m. and often after work too. I walked quite a bit and did at least 5,000 steps a day. The more I tried to concentrate myself to lose some weight, not following any specific diet but being careful, the more I would find myself thinking about food. I was frustrated and resigned to the fact that I was developing middle-aged spread and nothing would work. In just over a year with Trinity, weight-wise I've lost 13 kilograms or 2 stone, and size-wise I have lost 12 centimeters from my waist and 10 centimeters from my bust. Clothes-wise I've dropped 1 to 2 dress sizes. I've had lots of comments about how well I look, with people noting that I have lost weight, looking slim and toned. I feel able to confidently wear a bikini and more fitted clothing. This is about more than weight and size though. I feel so much better in myself, energy-wise, confidence-wise, and mentally. I enjoy my list workouts. It's part of my routine. I cancelled my gym memberships and have gone from 2 workouts a day to just 3 to 4 workouts per week. My strength has improved. I can do 8 full press-ups when at the start of Trinity I couldn't do 1. I have a current goal for 10. My intuition with food has improved. I sleep so much better. My menopausal symptoms have virtually abated. I embrace meditation and have reduced anxiety levels. My mindset has totally changed. I feel much happier and satisfied with life. I have rekindled a hobby in golf, reconnected with friends, and made new friends. I love the support from the Trinity community groups and belief my coach has in me to help me achieve my transformation. I was stuck before Trinity, and it's now integral to my daily life.
Amazing. So Helen dropped a couple of dress sizes and a couple of stone, going from 2 workouts a day to just 3 to 4 quality workouts a week. And we see these kind of results all the time. So Ben, where can people go if they want to find out more about the program that Helen followed and more about getting results like this around menopause?
So to find out more about the program Helen followed, head over to www.fit40info.com and you can find all of the details on that page.
That just about wraps up for today's podcast. I hope you found it enjoyable. I hope you found it useful. We'll catch you next week for another episode, and we shall see you then.